So, I because I've been doing this job for 8 years and I've worked with thousands of clients and specifically many, many clients in jewelry. I've got a very
Sure.
close connection with jewelry. And I I'm always honest and I'm always straightforward with my clients, and I like what you're doing. However, we're going to need to take what you're doing and transform it into um, a much more viable set of jewelry inside your store. I'm just going to quickly give you an example of what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
And,
I'm writing, by the way.
okay, and don't worry, because yeah, right. I mean, please do. That's really, really important. I'm also going to send you this consultation video recording when I submit for the call. You'll have all that,
Perfect.
so you'll have everything. Okay, so
Perfect.
here's where I'm at. First of all, let me give you an example of what lends itself really well to what you're doing. So as soon as you start talking to me, and as soon as I start seeing the jewelry, and as soon as I start to get a feeling, the charity, the suppliers, the Turkish supplier, and I'm getting the picture together. I
I'm
start.
just plugging you in.
Sure.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
plugged you in.
Okay. So I'm starting to feel where this needs to go. And for me, and with jewelry and the method and the process of what you're doing, celestial, gothic, these sides of jewelry lends itself very, very well to what you're doing here. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just my experience and my feeling on this. And I'll tell you something else. When you want to sell jewelry, we have to consider the marketplace on Etsy, and we have to consider the emotional meaning of wearing a piece of jewelry. Let me explain what I mean here. So, primary buying range on Etsy is female, 83%. Buying range is 25 to 45. All right. And
Yeah.
60%, yeah,
Yep.
and 60% of the audience are in the United States. Very handy. Okay.
Right.
Now let's talk about emotional context. So basically, the bigger the piece of jewelry, the braver the woman has to be to wear it. All right. And my job with you today, as your consultant and mentor, is to make sure that you've got all the tools in the box to open this store, build with processes and systems, and to make sales. Okay. So I like the idea. I definitely love the idea of celestial and gothic theme. Okay. But if you want to get that sales volume and you want to start growing the store, and we're going to talk all about that in a minute, how you're going to do it and all the things you need to do, we want the jewelry size to come down.
So let me tell you something very interesting.
Okay.
I have, of course, you're not seeing it now because, like, I just hauled my ass out of bed an hour ago, but I have what I refer to and what I figure when I open this shop, I'm going to have to do as one of the many photos and the video, because, I've been listening to you,
Good.
is I have a jewelry wardrobe. I would only wear one small piece of this along with all the other shit that I wear when I'm going out for dinner or when I'm on stage, when my band is playing. I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. None of it looks like this.
No.
But I would have one small piece of that because it sort of adds dimension to. It's as important to me as what I'm wearing. Again, whether I'm going out for dinner, or I'm gonna get into whether I'm walking into a show with the band. So I totally get that, and it's so funny because I started off, it's such an interesting phrase, the bigger the piece, the braver the woman has to be.
Yeah.
Because I started off thinking, oh my God, everything I've made is small. If that's all I continue to do, I have to sell it for a lot less and I'll make a lot less money for the charity. And so I started to make some bigger pieces, but this context is brilliant.
Yeah. And it comes directly from working with, I would say I've worked with a couple of thousand jewelers now in the last 8 years. I've done loads of work and I've seen the data and we've tested designs and I've done so much work at the grassroots level with these businesses. And I see it over and over again. You go bigger, the sales go down. And this has been the same for 8 years of doing this work. So I know, yeah, you, and also as well as that, size And then price. So once you go smaller, no matter what you make, if it's, you know, semi-precious, precious, or
Absolutely.
alternative,
Price goes down.
yeah, right. And when you look at the jewelry stores on Etsy, and you know, I don't take my word for this, just go and look. If you look at the stores that are doing 20,000 sales, 50,000, 100,000 sales or more, look at the size, look at the price. Size is small, price is $20 to $50.
Right.
That's what's going on. That's where the big bucks are coming in. And I've worked with these jewelers, so I know this to be true. So when you're doing, you know, working with a jeweler that does $100,000 a year, 200,000 or more per year on Etsy, inevitably most of them are in and around this area. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking, as we, you know, as I'm working with you now, and as you develop your own perception of what needs to be happen after our talk today, I'm seeing a smaller suite of jewelry, maybe Gothic, maybe Celestial, Zodiac. All this stuff just sits so well with what you're doing. And I don't know anything about the guy in Turkey. I don't know what he does, but maybe he has these style of blanks that you need to work in that area. I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if he doesn't, you find someone that does. But I would
Yeah.
strongly be comfortable that you could get this right. You could get the sizing, the costing, and the profit right. No problem at all here, right? In the areas that we're talking.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense to me, based on my experience. What do you think about it?
I think it's perfect. And I think the other thing is, you know, one of the things that you know, I've talked to friends who said, "Oh, you know, you should do more in pink." And it's like, you know, that's not really my vibe. And so and because I'm not doing this as a side hustle, I'm not doing this because, I mean, it would be great. I already donate to the charity, both financially and time and all of that stuff.
Right.
I'm doing it because I want to give them something. And the idea that I'd have to mess with my own vibe or my own idea of what's creative and cool, which is very Gothic and celestial, not in an astrology kind of way, but in an other earthly kind of way.
Yes. Right. Right.
It's a perfect thought for me, and or perfect vibe for me and what I'm doing.
Okay.
But the other thing about this, Nick, that's super interesting for me is the other is smaller pieces. And the other thing that does is it gives somebody a way to introduce themselves to the brand in a less risky way. Because A, it's a physically smaller piece, and B, a less expensive piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, I'm looking at the prices. It's not like I'm going out there and selling them for $100 anyway.
No.
But a smaller piece could be, you know, 15, $20. And that's an easier decision to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I, you know, in looking at this idea of, you know, categories, I can have a category called larger pieces or large squares, large rounds, but feature the smaller pieces, certainly at the outset, until I have people accustomed to the brand and more interested in looking at it more deeply and all those sorts of things. So it makes 100% sense.
Okay.